Please take your seats.
Thank
The
you.
program
Thank
is
you.
about to begin.
You make it easy. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And we appreciate you hustling to get here right after that very inspiring keynote. Hope that you enjoyed that from summer. I am Tracy Robinson. I am Executive Director of the Center for Regional Economic Enrichment at the University of Memphis. And I'm here to talk to you today about one of our programs, our Finish Line program, along with our fabulous partner, Jackie. Do an introduction?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Arnold. I'm the Director of Strategic Relationships at Saylor Academy. We're very proud to be partnered with the University of Memphis in this initiative, and I look forward to talking with you a little bit about Saylor Academy and how we can support your learners as well.
Thank you, Jackie. And Jackie and Saylor have been with us from the very beginning of our Finish Line program, which we started in 2012. So what do these letters mean to you all? What's that stand for? Anybody? And it's not second. It's not an abbreviation for the word second. Thank you, Michelle Rice. Some college, no degree. Sometimes these are talked about as some college, no credential. I would like to have us think about that a little bit differently, in that these individuals, I think at last count, there's 40 million maybe, and nationwide. These individuals are those that have started college and not finished. No one starts college with the intention not to finish, right? But we all know what happens. Life gets in the way. I try to keep this in mind when I'm working with these students. They do actually have a credential. It is not a degree. It's often student debt. I pause for a moment to let that sink in. The credential they have is not a good one. It's student loan from what they were trying to do, right? Earning that degree. And that credential, unfortunately, holds them back from a lot in their life. So not only not having the degree, they also have that student debt. And so really our Finish Line program was started because we realized how many we had at the University of Memphis. Finish Line is a degree completion program started for students who had reached senior status. So for us, that's 90 credit hours. Most of our degrees are 120 credit hours and stopped attending. So they have to have a lapse of enrollment, either fall or spring semester. And we also have a couple of other qualifications or eligibility. 2.0 grade point average. We bend that just a hair sometimes. We are fortunate to have an academic forgiveness policy at the University of Memphis. And so for students who have been away from the institution and any other higher ed institution for 4 or more years, they can have all of their previous failing grades removed. Sort of a forgiveness, truly. We call it academic fresh start. So if we encounter a student that's maybe a 1.89 and they've been out and we notice that they've been out for at least 4 years, then they would still qualify for our program. We do look at both the overall and the University of Memphis GPA because it is a graduation requirement that both of those are 2.0. So when we started this work in 2012, we narrowed down to that criteria. And this was at the time, no staff. My associate dean said, I'd like for you to do this as your other duties as assigned. Anybody ever heard that? Okay. Anybody in the midst of that right now and not sure which way is up? Okay. So we started this had come on the heels of a campaign of what we called Back on Track, where we sent out all these postcards to students that had stopped their enrollment at the University of Memphis, and we wanted to help them get back on track. We had several events across our region in 2011. They were pretty well attended. We had a good number of students who came to those events, but when we looked at how many of those students enrolled in that next semester, we found out that not many of them had actually enrolled. When we had these events, we had financial aid, we had admissions, we had advisors. We thought we were bringing everybody to the students so that we would make it easy for them. And so when we started looking back at why those students didn't enroll, we found out two things. One, they had run out of financial aid. Finances were the number one reason why they had not returned. And number two, they didn't see any value in coming back because they had come to these events and we had thought we had connected them to the right people, but many of the advisors that were there had 200 or 300 students on their caseload. They weren't doing any follow-up necessarily with these students. I mean, they had good intentions, but they just ran out of time, right? Like we all do. Um, and putting them back with the department that was already overloaded wasn't really the key. They needed somebody to make that transition, that re-enrollment. We don't make it easy, really, with many of our policies at higher ed institutions. They needed somebody to walk alongside them. And so we thought, okay, we're going to try this again. As my other duties as assigned, what's going to be different? We had a small scholarship, $25,000. Not doesn't go very far with a lot of students, and I said, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm going to kind of promote myself as a completion concierge. I'm going to help you come back. I'm going to help you get re-enrolled, and I'm going to stay with you until you graduate. Because if they've already left once, they're at risk of leaving again. So maybe I just need to be their person. My oldest daughter at the time was watching a lot of Grey's Anatomy, and I kept hearing them talk about "you're my person," and so I thought I'm going to be their person. And so that's what we did. So when we launched Finish Line after kind of learning those lessons in 2012, we really focused on these key messages. Number one, you're going to have somebody in your corner. You're going to have that completion concierge. This is a different institution. We want to help you get credit for prior learning. We want to, make sure that there's plenty of online options. We're going to look at the major you were doing before, but we're also going to tell you about any other majors that you may be closer to finishing. We also had this scholarship opportunity. Just saying you may qualify for a scholarship got some people interested. And then change elements. We had this academic fresh start policy. We found that some of our majors had changed curriculum, and that students that thought that they had 4 classes may only now need 2 classes. So looking at those curriculum changes and reaching out to those individual groups was really helpful for us as well. As a result, since 2012, we have graduated 1,189 students. Whew. I wish that number was 11,000. I wish it was 101. And quite frankly, with a lot more staff and a lot more money, we probably could get there. But every single one of them has a different story, a different reason for leaving. And a different reason for returning also. Some of them, it has been finances that kept them away, but they see now another job on the horizon that they need this bachelor's degree to finish, and they're motivated to do that. Credit for prior learning is a large part of what we do, and we make sure that we tell students, you have this opportunity. Maybe you thought you needed 30 hours, but you actually only need 15. When you get 10 classes down to 5, it changes their motivation, it changes their intention to enroll as well. We bring down the cost as much as we can, both with our scholarship and also credit for prior learning. Hey, do you have a course remaining where maybe you can take a CLEP exam or one of our challenge exams? We do have a portfolio program. Maybe it's a Saylor course. We had met the Saylor Foundation folks at a conference much like this one, and I'm going to say this several times as we go through this presentation, but they offer free courses, free, Free, truly free courses to individuals. And we'll tell you a little bit more about what we did, but they have specific courses that our students enroll in for free, and then we transcript those through credit for prior learning. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful partnership. We have, this grew from my other duties as assigned to a part-time person helping me, then a full-time person. We now have 2 full-time academic advisors or completion concierges that work with students on a regular basis. We have about 180 students actively still pursuing degree programs, and then we have about 100 or so students that are kind of in and out still. Life still happens. We make sure that we tell the students that we're still going to be here whenever you're ready. We're going to be here to help you. There are hundreds and hundreds of Chris's, like the picture there with his daughter at graduation. We remind ourselves of the why we do this work, and it's the Chris, and it's the daughter that he's holding on graduation, because we know when Chris graduates, it certainly changes his life, but it also changes his daughter's life as well. And so we celebrate these students. I have $0 for marketing, 0. So what we have to do is celebrate these students and tell their stories. Social media, they tell others. Our biggest form of recruitment is current students telling family members and cousins and coworkers about our program. And thankfully, that doesn't cost us anything at all. One other point is that we're really proud of is how this is affecting many of our underserved populations on campus and their graduation rates. I'm sure it doesn't surprise any of you in the room that it's more of our first generation students that didn't finish. It's more of our Pell eligible students and more of our minority students that don't finish. And so we see them overrepresented in our finish line students. And so helping them return is even more meaningful for us. Our scholarship is completely funded through a partnership with our foundation office. Our very first graduate, Anisha Tate, we started this work and I started making phone calls in September of 2012. Anisha was one of the first ones that answered my phone call and didn't think I was a scammer. And turned out she had planned on being out 1 semester and it had turned into 3. She only needed 3 courses remaining, and we had equivalents that she could do in our Saylor partnership. She finished all 3 of those courses before December and graduated in December. Our our foundation office asked Anisha to come and talk to our board of trustees in January just to tell them a little bit about her story. One of our board of trustees members wrote a $10,000 check on site that day. My alumni person I'm sorry, I keep saying alumni. Our foundation person came up to me afterwards and said, "This is a really big deal. This person is never given outside of the College of Engineering where they graduated. This is a really good story. This is resonating with people." And so we just kept feeding our foundation office more and more stories like Anisha. We had a $300,000 corporate donation by that next December and have had over $750,000 in corporate and foundation dollars donated just because I tell them stories. That's been really powerful because it's not then something that I have to do. In order for students to qualify for our scholarship, they have to have complete or exhausted all of their federal financial aid. There's not a GPA requirement. It is truly, we have a relationship with our financial aid office. If they tell us the student has exhausted their aid, then they qualify for our scholarship and we pay their tuition and fees associated with whatever it takes for them to finish. About a third of our students receive our scholarship, and you see our average amount is about 1,700. That is because many of the completion options that we give to these students are through credit for prior learning, which comes at a discount. Our per credit hour rate is $425 per credit hour. So you can see that many of these students are finishing for less than what they would pay in regular tuition of about 4 credit hours. So we try to be very good stewards of the money that we are granted. So now I'll turn it over to Jackie to tell you a little bit about Saylor, and then we'll tell you how we work together.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And it's such a pleasure to be a part of this great program and the great stories here. So I will tell you a bit about Saylor Academy and what are the facets of Saylor Academy that make us a good partner for programs like this and allow you to be able to stretch the resources that you may have at your institutions. So Saylor Academy is a nonprofit. We have a course platform that has free, and I'll say free several times as well. As part of my job, this comes up a lot, and there's usually 3 or 4 follow-up questions about it. But our courses are free. They're online, they're self-paced courses. They fall in a number of categories, including skill development, English as a second language, as well as higher education subjects and courses. Those courses are reviewed and recommended by the American Council on Education, and I'll talk about that course development and quality assurance process in further slides. A new development is that we have also started building credential and degree programs. So we now have 4 graduate degree programs, and I'll touch on it a little bit. I know it's maybe not quite as relevant for this particular group, but it just underpins the level of care that we invest in building content, as well as kind of bundled specializations is where we're calling them in key career skill areas. So I believe that Saylor Academy is a very good partner for an adult degree completion program. Our courses that are reviewed and recommended by ACE follow, or ACE, they prefer ACE rather than ACE, fill in the gaps in several general studies areas, as well as business and some computer science, information technology areas. We also have a college success course, and I see one of our partners, not to put too much of a spotlight on CUNY, School of Professional Studies, but they are using the college success course as part of their student orientation, which I think is a great use of those resources. When students take these courses, they're completely asynchronous, self-paced again. They will take the course. They take a proctored exam for all courses that are ACE related. And then we work with a proctoring partner, Smarter Proctoring. That proctoring partner charges $5 per exam, and then they are able to get their transcript through ACE and Credly. I keep saying ACE, ACE and Credly. So the asynchronous nature of these courses allows for a lot of flexibility. Free, I'll say it again, means that there is no cost for students to start. So you have an option for immediate action, which I think is really, really important for adult learners. Give them something to start right away so that they feel like they're making progress. So I'll talk a little bit about the quality and course creation process. So we work with faculty and subject matter experts who are very likely your peers. Many of our subject matter experts have are either currently working or have retired from working at a college, university, we require that they have their terminal degree in their field, as well as teaching experience for the course and subject that we are looking to create. We also work with a group of subject matter experts to do an internal review of the course to make sure that the course makes sense, the sequencing makes sense, the information is accurate. We use, I'm sure this group is familiar with open educational resources to we curate those within the course or we create those. Any resource that we create is also Creative Commons licensed or an open educational resource. Once these courses are built and reviewed, we have a great instructional design team that does a quality assurance process. And that's in addition to any external reviews that the course is going through as well. So regardless of whether a course is going to then be reviewed for ACE or for one of our other programs, we have a process that we start with first. And it's actually really similar to the process that ACE uses to review and determine whether a course could be transfer credit eligible. When you look at our platform, you'll see something that's probably very similar to the learning management system that's at your institution. We wanted the course experience to look and feel very familiar, or if it's being used as an introduction to online learning, kind of start those habits that students will need as they're learning online. So there will be a course introduction and syllabus. They'll be able to see that. Once they get in, there's a time estimate for how long we estimate that students would take in a course. They'll know whether a course is eligible for a certificate or for credit, et cetera, et cetera. Within the course itself, there will be a lot of reading. There might be a digital textbooks that's linked to it, articles, videos, as well as interactive content. For example, many of our programming courses now have code simulators. And then the important part, of course, the assessments. There will be a unit assessment, and then what determines whether a student is getting a certificate or credit is whether they take the certificate exam or the proctored credit exam for those courses that are eligible. So this investment in quality has led to several layers of recognition for courses. We've started working with IASET to get CEU recognition for our courses. Any Saylor course that's available on our open platform, students can take that course and earn a certificate of completion. The CEUs will now show on that certificate as well. For the college credit program, that's where the American Council on Education comes in. University of Memphis did something special, which Tracy may touch on as well if we have time, where they've had their faculty also review a set of courses for the particular needs of their finish line students. And the degree programs that I mentioned before, the graduate degree programs that we're building have been reviewed. And we now have our annual licensure from the Florida Commission on Florida Commission on Independent Education. And that's a key step to getting accreditation and becoming a university, which is our eventual goal. And now we have get tissues ready because this is a very touching video from a finish line graduate, Diane. And we're gonna see, I think we can just hit play and it will work. Nope, we may have to do some magic here. Give us just a moment.
Anything I need to do? Technical assistance is on the way.
To stall, I can tell you all a funny story. So when I was working on the, are we good?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I will save my funny story for the reception then. Yes, we want the video to play.
If it doesn't work, that's okay. Go back to the slides. While we're working on that technical difficulty, I'll tell you a little bit about what we did. With our Finish Line program, we knew that many of our students were going to be interested in an interdisciplinary studies degree program that we have at the University of Memphis. So it takes, or some of you may call it a general studies degree, basically kind of takes two areas of study and combines them into a bachelor's degree. In that degree program, we require 6 credit hours of what is called thematic studies. Um, and we looked at some specific Saylor courses that we thought would align with those thematic study courses. And we had our faculty evaluate them through our credit for prior learning process. Just like we would evaluate perhaps a real estate license or a corporate training, we had them evaluate these specific Saylor courses. So we identified 7 courses and had our faculty evaluate those. And every one of those came back with 3 credit hours of upper division coursework. We were very surprised. I think Saylor may have been too. This was even before I think they had gone through the ACE credit recommendation process. But so we use a specific set of 7 Saylor courses that fulfill requirements that we think our students may need in this interdisciplinary studies program.
Sailor horses were a great option for me because I could take them at my own pace. Their online classes and I could do them after work or on the weekends. It gave me an opportunity to just fit it in around my busy schedule because I work full time. So, and I run a small business on the side on the weekends. So it gave me an opportunity to take my classes when it was convenient for me. Plus, they're economical, they're affordable, and that was a big deal for me. I took 4 classes through Saylor Academy, and let's see, I took American Renaissance, uh, Human Resources Management, Negotiation and Conflict Management, and Principles of Management. I think there were 4 classes, and so it's just been a really um, energizing experience, emotional actually, because it's been a long time. I didn't know if I could do it. Just knowing that I did this for myself is huge. If I pursue a secondary degree or a master's degree or not, just knowing that I took the time for myself to do this, it's just a huge sense of accomplishment for me. And it's energizing. I did this. I did it for me, not for anybody else.
So you have Diane's among your institution, right? I mean, they're not sure if they have the time when they have an interest maybe in returning to finish their degree and they come see you in February. You don't want to have to tell them you got to wait until August for our next semester to start. The beauty of this partnership with Saylor is all you need is an email address to sign up and start a Saylor course. And so they don't have to be admitted. They don't have to go through all of the things that we make them go through. They can do this on their own. If they decide that they get a couple of topics in, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I really do need to be in the classroom. There's no cost. They haven't failed anything. They've just learned that maybe they need another type of learning. So it's really been a critical piece of what we can offer to our adult learners and keep them motivated and working with us as well. To date, this is the number of students that we've had complete Saylor courses. So out of our almost 1,200 graduates. 569 of them have completed Saylor courses. Many of them, like Diane, have completed multiple courses. And you see the savings that they have experienced, and also the savings that we have experienced on our scholarship, because if we're not paying it for them to do a tuition course, then that's more money. It helps us stretch our money in the long run. So it's truly a win-win. And I'll say it again, they are free. We have never paid 1 ounce, $1, 1 penny. We can't even pay pennies anymore, right? To Saylor for this partnership. And so that is one of the first questions we usually get. You mean it's really free? Yes, it's really free. This is a nonprofit organization that is doing this because their founder believes in this opportunity for education. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, if you are interested in starting a program like Finish Line, we are happy to learn or share with you some of the lessons that we've learned along the way, because there have been many lessons along the way. You know, when we first started this, we weren't sure what it was going to be. Some of you have been in previous presentations where I've said we use the word pilot in the beginning. Our faculty, some were very hesitant about this. And so they were like, well, if they start taking all these free courses, they're not going to be taking our courses. And so we said, okay, this is a pilot. We're just going to use these courses for our Finish Line students. It's a very small, controlled group. And we'll see how it goes. Make sure we're not breaking the university, or people aren't losing their jobs, or those kinds of things. We have since launched Finish Line courses in some of our other programs. I see some of my friends from our corporate partnership program in the back. In our U of M Global program, we have partnerships with many local corporations. And so many of those are returning adult learners. And so we asked, let's pilot those students using Saylor courses, and that's gone okay. And so we do have a couple of other departments that are allowing students to use these for electives or even major electives now in their program. Sorry, my phone was telling me what time it was. So we have expanded a little bit, but this is not on the University of Memphis main admissions webpage. You know, it's still a pretty controlled group of students that know about this. It's the academic advisors that tell students about these options when it's appropriate for them. In terms of starting something like Finish Line, if you use that word pilot, if you, start with a small budget, start with somebody who says okay to those extra duties as assigned. We had a very close relationship with our institutional reporting office. So they provided us, once we determined what our eligibility was, that 90 earned credit hours, 2.0, we worked with our OIR department to do a look back and at the University of Memphis to see of students who met that criteria. That's the first list that I got and started reaching out to students. I realized pretty soon I needed to add if there were any holds on that list. I needed to know if students owed us additional money. That was going to be a barrier for them to return. We also learned pretty early on, hey, let's run this through the National Student Clearinghouse and see if they've graduated from another institution since leaving us, because we probably shouldn't spend a whole lot of time reaching out to them. They may not be interested in coming back because they've already finished their degree somewhere else. We also develop those relationships with financial aid, with our recruiters, with that foundation office to start our fundraising. We started in one college, very small, our College of Professional and Liberal Studies. We identified those degree programs that accepted more credit for prior learning, that were more flexible, and those were the ones that we looked at first and really promoted to students. We have since expanded to outside that college. We've had finish line graduates even from our nursing college now and engineering. Those were some of the later ones to come on. We do still see most students completing our general studies or interdisciplinary studies degree program just because it is so flexible. We do have a few of our students that are on campus, but the majority of them are online. So we also needed to make sure we had appropriate student supports available for them. We've been in online for a long time at the University of Memphis and thankfully have those supports set up. But you can't invite students back and then figure it out. If you do, they will get very angry with you if you don't deliver what you promise. And so I was working for an executive dean at the time who wasn't always patient. He wanted to invite everybody back and then let's figure it out. And I had to be the voice of calm and say, no, let's figure it out and then invite them back. And so that's very important. I would also say that your messaging is really important as well, kind of similar to that. You've got to tell them what's changed. You know, they left for a reason. And so when you're asking them to come back, what are they coming back to? What's going to be different this time? Sometimes it's that a faculty member has retired, and all due respect to faculty members in the room, but sometimes there's a shift in culture maybe in a department. Maybe it's curriculum changes. Maybe they didn't know that there was an online option. They stopped attending because they got a career opportunity in a different state and they didn't even stop long enough to figure out, hey, can I do this online? Or maybe they didn't know who to go talk to about changing their major to a degree program, that general studies degree program. So we try to make sure that we had all those pieces in place. If you were here yesterday for the keynote from Jessica Gibson, who talked about the low hanging fruit, how many of you have heard that? And this population definitely fit into that. They were like, "Oh, y'all are going to graduate thousands of students in the first few semesters." There's a reason the students aren't enrolled anymore, and you can provide all the service and you can provide all the support, but sometimes it's just not their time to return yet. And so this is not low hanging fruit. This is hard work, and you've got to help them navigate whatever those barriers are. We try to be very focused on solutions and encouraging. We really consider ourselves coaches as much as advisors. But it still may take them a while, and that's okay. Telling them that their credits don't expire is also something that they did not know or that they didn't think about. Telling them that they can start on something right away with this Saylor course. It's no obligation, very low risk. Just try this out. And then they build their confidence, kind of like Summer was talking about. They become those peacocks. They finish 2 or 3 of those Saylor courses and they're like, what else you got for me to do? I can do this stuff now. And so working with them through all of those challenges. Our advisors typically have a caseload of about 100 to 150 truly active students. This is not the 400 caseload advisor that you may have in some of your other, departments. This is very high touch, and we do stay with them until they graduate. We may be connecting with a psychology advisor to make sure they've got all the degree requirements, but we're their person. If you have a challenge, if you have a celebration, we're your person. We're going to be there for you and make sure that you can navigate that. So that's really an important piece to have an ownership of this kind of program as well. Communication strategy, again, I'm still operating on zero marketing budget. Well, that's probably not true. I may have $10,000 or so that I can scrounge up every now and then, doing a lot of digital marketing with our partner College App. That's a very cost-effective way of doing this work as well. But your communications has to be internal as well as external. You know, if somebody shows up in a random building on campus asking about the Finish Line program, we need to make sure that all of our staff and faculty know how to direct that person to us. We need to make sure that when a faculty member's at the grocery store and runs into a former student that they know that didn't finish, they're like, hey, call our friends over in Finish Line. They've got a program for you. And we've had that happen. So we do as much internally as we do externally as well. Determine a timeline of starting and be willing to adjust that as needed. We geared this up again in a few months, but I was working with a list of like 25 students at a time. Once we brought on a part-time person, we expanded that and got a lot more students in the pipeline, but we built the program as we went and had successes. We were also able, as we built it, to go back to administration and say, we need some more funding for another position, or I need funding, for foundation to get us some more scholarships. So we've had to be very flexible in this as well. And I can't stress enough, credit for prior learning is at the heart of what we do and how we message to students, because it's really important. Here is our contact information. We are happy to share more about our work together, our lessons learned, our wins. We have more success stories like Diane. We are still putting students into Saylor courses just as much as we were in the beginning. And Saylor has been so great to come back to us and say, hey, we want to refresh one of these courses that you're using. Do you have a faculty member that we could partner with on that? They've come and said, hey, do we want to look at other courses to add to your list to get those evaluated? Or are you seeing a specific need in a certain area? And I will mention again, they are free. No money has changed hands. So do you want to add anything, Jackie? And then we can open it up for questions.
If you tried to send us money, we would send it back.
Well, that's good to know. Good to know. Yes. Any questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am. So the question was, how many hours does the University of Memphis allow in credit for prior learning? Because she understood we took 7 courses from Saylor. So this comes in as credit for prior learning, and all of our 7 courses are 3 credit hours each. This is considered what we call pre-assessed credit. So this does not count in our graduation residency requirements for us, that's 30 credit hours have to be completed at the University of Memphis. Those courses don't count in that, but we do allow up to 30 credit hours total in our credit for prior learning umbrella. So they could potentially have some portfolio credit, maybe from their learning experiences through work. I've been a manager at FedEx for 15 years or something like that. They could get 6 credit hours from a portfolio, 21 hours from Saylor courses. And if they've already had other hours at the University of Memphis, they may only need a 3-hour senior project to complete their degree. It does count in the up to 30 hours, but it doesn't count in the 30 I'm taking out the word last, the 30 hours of residency for graduation purposes. We're SAC COC accreditation, and we have to be very careful about those no, I'm taking out the word last. I'm retraining myself. It's not the last 30, it's students have to have at least 30 credit hours in residency at the University of Memphis, and Saylor courses do not count in that. Right, so these are students that already have 90 credit hours that are in our program, and very often those are University of Memphis hours. Sometimes they are transfer hours. But a student could have 30 hours at the University of Memphis, have gone to Southwest Community College for 30 hours, and maybe they've come back to the University of Memphis. So it's any combination of those. Cor- Correct. That's correct. Sorry, I was confusing you when I kept trying to use the word last, because we just changed that requirement. It used to be that our 30 of the last 60 hours had to be at the University of Memphis, and that tripped us up with some of these students. But it now is just 30 hours at the University of Memphis at any point in your journey. Sorry, residency gets a little convoluted. Sorry, I hope I didn't confuse anybody. I see some advisors back there shaking their head. I'm looking at you, you two in the back. Other questions? Yes. So the question is, did we ever pull financial financial data? Are you talking more about return on investment? Okay. To colleagues outside of Finish Line, yes, we have to talk about that a lot, especially when we're partnering with other new departments that haven't worked with us previously. One thing that has been helpful for us is that Tennessee is a completion agenda. Our funding formula is tied to completion. And so when we bring back a Finish Line student, and we're graduating them maybe in one semester or two, that's got a pretty big bang on the buck in our completion dollars and graduation dollars, also retention dollars that are tied into our state funding. So yes, we do have to do that. The other kind of avenue that we use for that conversation is that we have academic advisors that are going to work with the students. So we're not putting any burden back on the departments or their advisors to work with these students. And so we pay the staff in Finish Line, and the department gets the graduation number, right? Because they're not graduating from Finish Line, they're graduating from the University of Memphis in psychology or in business, but the psychology and business advisors aren't working with them. We are. So that's been helpful to talk about that return on investment as well.
We just got to know that at time.
Yes. So we're at time. We're happy to stick around and answer any questions. You're also free to reach out to us. This has been an invaluable partnership, and so thankful. Could not have gotten to almost 1,200 graduates without this partnership with Saylor. So thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you all.